Good morning to all my friends and family, and welcome to Jim's 5 a.m. club. As you can see, I've just popped off the train and I'm standing here on the Circular Quay train station, and it's a very still but beautiful morning. Once again, just like yesterday, we've got a southwesterly sort of breeze. It's a fairly stiff breeze, but not too stiff, but it's enough just to keep those flags on top of the bridge fluttering. I can see the moon. I can see the moon clearly up there, so I can't see very many stars, so I'd imagine it's a little bit overcast, but a wonderful start to the day. So what we'll do this morning is we'll go through a book summary, and the book summary is entitled Stumbling on Happiness by Dan Gilbert, a book which looks at how our brain works, how our brain functions, and how we process happiness. So in order to get started, we'll kick off with a quote from this book, and the author says that the secret of happiness is variety. But the secret of variety, like the secret of all spices, is knowing when to use it. So what's this book all about? This book is about the science of happiness and learning how our brains are wired and how our brains have an ability to simulate the future and fill in the gaps. But the author also warns us that the brain is really bad at filling in the blanks, but it continues to try unabated. So whenever the brain sees a gap in our understanding, a gap in our vision, a gap in our thinking, whatever gaps appear, the brain will automatically try and fill in the gap, because our brain just wants to be complete, or to complete the future, and it wants to simulate the future and create what it thinks the future may look like, and hence create expectations, I guess is the best way of describing it. So the brain, as we've discussed here, is really bad at filling in the blanks, but it doesn't stop trying. An important thing for us all to understand is that we have a number of blind spots, and blind spots are called scotomas. The technical name for a blind spot is a scotoma. And the brain, when presented with a scotoma, will basically try and fill it in and simulate what it would look like, or what it should look like, and help us basically complete the picture. Because an important lesson for each and every one of us is that human beings are teleological in nature. Teleological meaning that we want to fill in the blanks, we want to have a complete picture, and we can't function without a complete picture, or an expectation at least, or seeing the completed event in our mind's eye. So in effect, what the brain does is it guesses what needs to be there and adds the remaining pieces as best as it can. So what actually happens is that our brain literally invents a part of our reality in any given moment. And when it invents our reality, then it can also influence, or greatly influence, our experience. So just understanding this is really important. because each and every one of us have a different reality. Even if we're in the same situation or the same place at the same time, our brain focuses on different things. It fills in the puzzle for things that it doesn't see or doesn't hear or doesn't smell or doesn't know about. It'll do its best to try and fill it in. And as you can understand, if you've got 10 different people watching the same different event, their brains will be filling in the unknowns and the scotomas with different pictures and creating different realities. But another very, very important thing to understand is that when our brain is filling in our pictures or our puzzles, when it's filling in the missing bits, it also has the uncanny ability to exaggerate part of the experience. And by exaggerating part of the experience, you're going to be left with remembering this as an exaggerated experience. So we have to be careful with what our brain exaggerates, because that exaggeration will be our memory of the experience. The other thing that we also need to be aware of is that our brain also has the ability to recreate our future. So our mind's eye of how things will work out is left to our brain. And in many ways, our brain will always recreate a best case scenario. And when you get there, you may be disappointed, because the picture that your brain has created in terms of what your expectation is may be very, very different to what actually materializes, and hence you are disappointed and left unhappy with the outcome. The next point that the author makes in the book here is we must try and compare our experiences and products based on value rather than past price or past experience in order to get the most out of our lives. And on the question of experience, the author put something forward here which I found very, very interesting. And he said that bad experiences are much, much better for us than no experience at all. How's that for a concept? That having a bad experience is much better than not having any experience at all. That's quite mind-blowing. And to the people who are procrastinators, to the people who are perfectionists, to the people who prefer to be cautious, it's a big wake-up call, saying that you're better off just doing something, anything, and having a bad experience rather than doing nothing and having no experience, because no experience will leave you with nothing to benchmark, will leave you nothing to compare and contrast your life to. Because what the author here talks about is that it's really, really hard for the brain to come up with a positive view of something that has never happened. So you're better off just doing many, many things and having, as the author mentioned before, a variety in life, so that you can compare and contrast, so that you can have the salt and pepper, so you can have the spice of life.
The next train to arrive on
because by doing nothing, you'll have nothing really to compare and contrast and to have to look back on in your life. So doing more things is better than doing no things or few things.
Bankstown
And the
then
big point
all
to come out of the
stations
author,
to Liverpool.
out of his teaching in this book, is that action always beats inaction every time. So if you've got a choice of doing something or doing nothing, you're better off doing something. So do less thinking and do more things in order to grow and develop and to have a better life, is the core message from this book. Because our brains can manipulate our past by exaggerating the negatives, and they can also manipulate our future by thinking best case scenario. And when we get to our future, we look back and go, wow, that wasn't what I was expecting. And you can either be happy or sad, depending on how you're able to manage that whole process. So this has been a wonderful journey to get us started on this beautiful Tuesday, this Tuesday in autumn here in Sydney, and to understand the science of how our brain works, to understand the science of how our brain is really excited about filling in the gaps, but also really bad at doing it at the same time. But by understanding the science, you can understand the manipulation that is happening by the media, by advertising, by the cunning people around you who are able to manipulate your reality by their suggestions and by saying things or leaving out things. More importantly, the art of leaving out things and allowing you to fill in the gap, to fill in the missing piece. And because you're going to fill in the missing piece using the best case scenario, you're being manipulated. So remember, there are people out there who are very adept at saying things and not saying everything, and allowing you to fill in the gap, and then blaming you, saying, well, that's not what I said, that's not what I meant, but knowing very well that they understand the science of how the brain works and how to manipulate the people around them into getting them to fill in the gap, as I said, and creating a best case scenario, or a scenario that was never intended, but just materialized through the brain's need to fill in the gaps and to create a perception. So let's finish off with a positive affirmation. I'm alive, I'm well, and I feel absolutely great. To my friends and family, stay connected, stay relevant, stay reasonable, and let's be attuned. Let's be tuned in to the tricks and to the techniques of manipulation that our brains do, and to understand that our brain can be manipulated and manipulate our future in a positive and a negative way. So the choice is yours. So let's finish off. I'm heading off to work, and I wish you all a beautiful Tuesday. I'll come to you later on, probably at about 9:30. We will do another book summary. Don't know what it'll be or where it'll be, but it'll be an opportunity for us to go on a Volta, to catch up, and to share a moment of time and get through this day as best we can. So thank you very much for joining me yet again on this beautiful adventure, the adventure known as Jim's 5am Club, where we get to walk through and highlight the beauties of this city of Sydney and help us get forward, get moving, get forward, and be productive as best we can, so that we can live, learn, and pass it on. So there you go. Take care, and we'll chat again later. bye for now, and enjoy this wonderful opportunity, this day, which will never come back again, but it's up to you to embrace and make the most of it. Yasas, sasagapao, vilakya, and bye for now.